Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. And today I welcome my guest, Saahil, to the show, and I'm looking forward to where this conversation is going to go. So I'm just quickly going to introduce Saahil, and then we're going to dive into the conversation today. So Saahil is a global entrepreneur, mountaineer, author, and exponential success coach who empowers ambitious business owners to declutter their lives mentally, physically, and emotionally to amplify their impact. Having built businesses across continents and summited some of the world's tallest mountains, Saahil combines lessons from the boardroom and the mountains to help others design a powerful, zero-regret life. Recognized globally for his transformative frameworks and inspiring keynotes, he enables business owners to define success on their own terms, stress less, grow faster, and build that zero regret life. Welcome to the show today, Saahil. I'm so glad to have you. So that's a great mixture. I love that. That you're helping people define success in themselves and move towards it. You're getting them to declutter. But I'm very curious about the mountain. I know we were talking a little bit before the show. What got you so interested in mountaineering?
It was one of those bucket list moments. I remember as a student at university, my flatmate, his elder brother, we were together one time, and he goes, "Oh, we should climb Everest." And I got a bit excited, and then looked into it, and I realized it's a big ordeal, and it probably takes about 1.5 to 2 months, which I did not have at the time, and not to forget the amount of money you had to spend as well. Because I said, well, why don't we start with the base of Everest? That's a good starting point. And it seemed that even if you weren't a mountaineer, it was a possibility. So I said, okay. And then it was just one of those, the seed was planted, but nothing happened. Fast forward probably about 7 to 8 years, I'm now married, and I'm thinking, and my wife and I were planning to start having children. I said, you know what? If there's one time to kind of check off this bucket list item, it's now. Because once we have children, I don't know how life will evolve. So I looked it up, got the dates, got the timings, the pricing, everything looked fantastic. Asked my wife. She said yes, to my surprise. I was very happy that she wanted to be a part of this journey. Sent a huge message out on Facebook, because at that time that was kind of the popular social media site. I guess that gives away my age to some extent. And, I had people coming back asking if they had hot towel racks while we were there, or if they could plug in their hairdryer. Obviously funny jokes for not coming, but we made it happen. And one of my closest friends said yes. So the three of us embarked on this journey. And once we started and successfully completed this climb, what I didn't realize was that I would be bit by the mountain bug. And once this bug bites you, you just keep wanting to have to go back to the mountains. It's this very strange disease that it just makes you want to go back. And so since then, we climbed many more mountains together. And then eventually the missus said, you know what? Unless if they have a warm room, like no tents, I'm not sleeping on the floor anymore. If they have a bed and it's warm, I'm coming. Otherwise, you're on your own. So she is semi-retired, but I still have the bug strong in me. I still have that illness, so I keep going back.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. Getting the mountain bug. Yeah, bitten by the mountain bug. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing to sort of get out there and start with but have you done Everest since, or gone back? You said you did the base.
No, Everest, as I mentioned, it's 1.5 to 2 months of a commitment.
Mm.
Although before I couldn't afford it, now I can, but I can't afford the time out. I with two young kids, young meaning they still like hanging out with us.
Mm.
I don't want to be away for 1.5 to 2 months, away from my family and from work and from regular rhythm of life. So the mountains I usually choose to summit are climbs that are anywhere between, let's just say, up to 10 days, because that's something that allows me to take 2 weeks off. I get to explore a country at the same time while I'm there. And it gives me time to bond with Mother Earth, bond with the other climbers, and bond with and kind of just be in my head and just reflect on a lot of things. So that's something I can afford to do both from a money, time, and energy perspective.
Oh no, that's cool. Yeah, getting to like really connect out there as well. Like you say, it still gives you that connection and breaks. It sounds like. How has like climbing mountains, if it has been beneficial for you for bringing back into like business, has it kind of like impacted on any ways you do things?
Oh, absolutely. I've learned so many lessons from the mountains. Perhaps I can share a couple with you right now. One of them is communication. I always tell people that if I get communication wrong here in this environment where I have these four walls around me, I control the lighting, I control the temperature, I know the people around me. It's a very controlled environment. And okay, I'm not an employee. I'm the owner of my companies. But let's just assume for a minute that I'm an employee. What's the worst that can happen if I get communication wrong? I may not get a promotion. I may lose out some relationships with colleagues. I may get fired, right? And perhaps there's a court case against me or something if I did something, said something really stupid. If I get communication wrong on the mountain, that could lead to grave injury or perhaps even death. And by bringing in that mountain mindset, because on the mountains, I don't have, it's not a controlled environment. I'm at the mercy of Mother Earth. So if I bring that mountain mindset into my day-to-day living, I can be so much more effective because on the mountain, when I communicate or when someone communicates with me, we have to ensure that what is said is understood. Right? Whereas here, sometimes people nod their head because perhaps they don't want to look stupid or they assume something and, it wasn't exactly what you said. You said gray. They thought it was dark gray. I mean, all sorts of things can happen. And when you just go off your direction, if you're just off by a little bit, over time, that gap widens, right?
Wow.
But on the mountain, you can't afford to do that. And just to share a story with you, I remember we were climbing Tropical in Peru. This is a 6,354-meter peak. We had just finished. We had summited, and it's we've been on the mountain for days. We're tired. We're not eating the same amount. At least I can't eat very well at high altitude. My stomach gets really sensitive after crossing 5,000 meters or so. We're not getting as much sleep, so we're just physically drained. It was a tough summit climb. On the way down, one of the climbers says, "I want to order a helicopter." Now, normally when you order a helicopter on the mountain, it means something's gone seriously wrong. It's for emergency only. And as the team leader, I kept saying no. Now, I should have stuck to my guns, but what I did was I wanted to please the other people because I kind of saw that it was starting to become a confrontation. So we called them up through a satellite phone and they said, "Is there an emergency? Has anyone broken something? Blah, 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 blah." No, they're all fine. Okay, we're not coming. It doesn't matter if you're ready to pay them. It's still a high risk operation because the air's thin. For the chopper to work, it's not that easy. So they said, "We're not coming." Now, when that happened, we shared this information with the coordinator in Lima, who was then on a communication group through WhatsApp with the family members. And the only thing he wrote, he didn't give context. He just said they called for a helicopter. Now everyone's in panic mode. Mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, kids, they're all thinking, is it my dad? Is it my child? Is it my partner? Some people are in tears. They can't sleep. It wasn't until 24 hours later that we finally got phone signal. And then, I'm getting all these messages, call urgent, call urgent. I'm thinking in my head, oh my God, what's happened back home? So now I'm worrying. I'm getting anxious. I call home and, and my dad's in tears. He's like, "What happened?" And this, that. And I said, "Nothing." And they said, "But, this communication came out on the WhatsApp group." I said, "Oh, well, no, it was just because some people were tired and they just wanted to pay extra to take a helicopter down." And then they all calmed down. But there were two flaws in communication that I can think of immediately. One was instead of addressing the situation, I kind of said, I don't want confrontation. So I caved in. And the coordinator did not give context when they communicated something, which is quite sensitive potentially. And as a result of that, think about how much pain people went through. Now, amplify that in the workspace when you sent an email or when you communicated something that someone understood exactly what you meant and executed on it the same way you intended.
Yeah.
I give you a sentence. I never said he stole my money. That's a 7-word sentence that has 7 different meanings depending on which word you emphasize. So if I send you a message or an email, the word that or the meaning that I implied when I sent it and the meaning you understood when you read it, was it the same? In that case, you have a 1 in 7 chance of getting it right. Would you make any business decision where you have a 1 in 7 chance of succeeding? No, exactly. So why in communication? So again, on the mountain, you would never take that risk. You would ensure that if there's a 1 in 7 chance, they understood that it's that 1 in 7 chance. That it's exactly what you intended. So that's what I mean. That's something that the mountain has really, really helped me with, is to communicate more effectively and to ensure that the other person understood what I communicated.
Wow. Never thought of it like that. Never thought that'd be one, but yeah, so powerful.
Yeah. And another lesson, I told you I'd give you a couple, is on the mountain, we also address the what if scenarios. What if someone starts having altitude sickness issues? What if someone gets injured? What if? So we go through the scenarios and we make the decisions before we start our journey. That way, if any of those situations occur, we've already got the answer. We just have to execute on it. Because at 20,000 feet above sea level, you cannot have a conversation that requires too much brain power and all be in alignment. It's just tough because you're already tired. You can't think straight, all of that stuff. So again, why not in the workspace? Why not go through whenever you're making a major decision, what could happen? And then how would we address it so that there's alignment between the team members? So again, a simple situation, a simple to understand, but if executed effectively, by implementing the mountain mindset in your day-to-day work, you can achieve a lot more in less time because there's less wastage of resources.
I love those. Communication being a vital one on the what if. And the what if, I guess a lot of us can... what came to me there when you said the what if was like, a lot of times I've certainly been there, we worry about like all these random things or bad possibilities coming, but the what if is like, oh, actually, this is how I'd handle it. And actually that can create a little bit more like confidence, like in the mountain, you've got like, you're not having you're in that kind of, your body might be into that like fight or flight or kind of like survival where you've already logically thought it out. So yeah, that's what came for me then.
Yeah. And I love what you said, because once you go through these, it also helps to reduce the anxiety because then you've addressed how you would handle it and then you're more calm again.
So think of like, yeah, the worst case of that scenario is like, oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen. But it's like not planning for it to happen, but like when you're in the mountain, things can happen, right? And in life, things can happen. Oh, I love that. So powerful. Like just thinking about like the mountain, what could potentially you could bring into the workplace. I mean, the people you work with, is there an element of them getting out in nature you encourage in your work, or does it differ for people?
I obviously can't force people to do something, but like you said, I do encourage the business owners that I work with. And I tell them, I say, look, when you're in your regular environment, there's a lot of stimulus. There's a lot of stimuli. right? And sometimes you just need to step away or step outside in order to have more time with yourself, where you're not getting distracted by all sorts of things that are around you. And what I find is that Mother Earth, or being in nature, just allows you to have that time with yourself. Because I don't know about all the people who are listening in right now, but in my case, I used to make some pretty big decisions without giving them enough time and depth. And when I get out in nature and I just sometimes observe how animals operate or how nature operates, or just being away from all these distractions, I get to see things with more clarity. I get more time in my head, which means I can probably make a more informed and better decision, as opposed to feeling I don't have enough time and just kind of constantly running and making those decisions on the go.
Different way of seeing it in a different angle, perhaps, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's very meditative as well. When, I mean, it doesn't have to be a mountain. You can go for a walk in the park.
Doesn't have to be Everest.
No, you can go out. You can go out sailing on the sea. You can, or take a boat out on a lake. You can. I mean, there's so many options. Nature comes in so many forms.
It's all around us. I love that. I've got some nice. I'm in a city, but like I've got a nice the woods over there. It's always good to like walk into them and yeah, just like be there and come up with ideas and having that thinking time. So powerful for me personally, but I know we've all got different relationships with how we connect with nature. Yours is
Yeah, and look, I'll give you a very simple example. I enjoy doing these various puzzles, in the morning, and sometimes I can't solve them. And when I take a break and I just step away from it, and I come back after some time, and that some time could be minutes, it could be hours, it could be half a day, whatever. But once I come back, I just feel I'm refreshed. I'm seeing it with a different mindset, and where I was stuck for perhaps 10 minutes, once I came back, I saw with more clarity, and I was able to solve those puzzles very quickly. So even if you, in my case, and I'll give you another example, which is very easy, where you don't even have to step outside. I have a lovely view of a lake from my office. And so every day I'll have a cup of tea. And while having the tea, a friend of mine, he termed this, it's not a cup of tea, it's a cup of time. So I get about 10 minutes. I get 10 minutes to myself where I'm away from my computer, my phone. I'm just staring out the window at the lake, and I'm sipping on that tea. That just gives me a little bit of a break, allows me to refresh, and then come back and attack again. And even though it's only 10 minutes, I felt so much better. I could see differently, but I just needed that pause. And seeing that beauty around me just helped me to bond with nature, calm down, and come back stronger.
a cup of time. I like that. But yours, yours bonding with nature and then coming back. I like that. I know you help people with decluttering. I mentioned like earlier, like kind of in different ways. What is like decluttering for you when you help someone sort of like declutter?
So let's start with the definition. My definition is clutter is nothing more than shunned confrontations. So what am I shunning in my life? Which is known to me or unknown. Unknown meaning I'm doing it, but at a subconscious level, I don't know why. It's a blind spot. And if you imagine if you're climbing up a mountain, just using the mountain analogies, Imagine if I add 5 kilos to your backpack. Now, if it's just a 10-minute climb, it's not going to make too much of a difference. But if it's 10 hours, that 5 kilos is heavy. Now, imagine years of your life that you're just carrying this excess weight with you wherever you go. It's really heavy. It's slowing you down. And as you're climbing this mountain that we call life to get to wherever it is that you wish to go, how much harder has it become with that excess weight? It's slowing you down. It requires more energy. And it may even prevent you from getting to your summits. And so by identifying this clutter, whether it's mental, physical, at a relationship level, or even something meaning, or the body, something that's related to your body, it's going to slow you down. So if you identify it, then you can, through trial and error, through learning from the best, through coaching, there's so many methodologies that you can try. You can remove that clutter, reduce the weight that you're carrying, and hence start to scale those mountains faster.
And so in kind of all different aspects, clutter can come in different ways. And I like what you gave with the analogy with like adding like a load of rocks or weight to someone's back as well, and how much that would like slow you down, as with life as well. That's a powerful one. And you touched on they might not even reach the summit, or where they're going. I know you help people with success. Do you find people have a difficult job with defining success at all?
I can share with you what I've been through and what a lot of business owners I work with have gone through as well. I found that people have a definition of success, one that is a bit vague. It's not very precise. And so if you say, I want to be successful, great, but what does that mean? Ooh, I want to be rich. Great, but what does that mean? Is it rich in health? Is it rich in wealth? Is it rich in relationships? Is it rich in something else? Is it all of the above? Like, what is it? Because if you don't know what it is, how do you even know whether you've got there or not in certain aspects of your life? And if I look in my case in particular, I had a version of success that was handed down to me, which was a combination between what my family said, the educational system, media, society, etc. And in my head, by the time I reached a certain age, I was living in a 6-bedroom villa, married with kids, no debt, driving a luxury sports car, had net value that was in the millions. And that would have been pretty much checking all the boxes for me. But I didn't feel fulfilled. And then I'm asking myself, Sahil, you should be grateful. Like, why aren't you feeling whatever it is you thought you would feel when you hit your definition of success? And I realized the problem was, it wasn't my definition of success. It was something that I was told. So the first thing I do with all these amazing leaders that I get the opportunity to work with is we start to define what success means to them. And just to give you an example, in the mountaineering world, you have something called the 7 summits, which are the tallest mountains on each continent. And when you conquer all of them, it's like you've conquered the world. So I asked myself, I said, what about conquering your inner 7 summits so that you conquer your inner world? And so the first thing I do is I ask these folks, what are those 7 summits to you? What are the 7 most important things to you that make up your definition of success? Because it's never one thing. I mean, if you're filthy rich, but you have no health, no relationships, no community, that's not successful, right? For many people, that feels horrible.
That would.
So And if I ask you to choose three, everyone would, or majority of the people would choose health, wealth, and relationships. But by pushing yourself to think of seven, you start to realize that there are these other areas of life that are so important to you that without them, you just would feel regret if you didn't have them. Like in my case, one of my seven is fun and recreation. I didn't know how important that was to me until I did this exercise. And so once you have your seven summits, and I won't go into detail, I mean, we prioritize them, we do a whole bunch of things, but now when I have to make a decision, I ask myself, what is the net effect on these seven summits? Before, I used to just look at what's the financial benefit without knowing what that would mean in terms of sacrifice in the other six mountains that are important to me. And so even though I might have made more money, it might have hurt my relationships, it might have hurt health or other areas, personal development, community, fun and recreation. These are all that are important for me. Now, though, I look at what is the net effect. And if the net effect is positive, then I'm inclined to take that decision and move in that direction. However, if the net effect is negative, I often ask myself, can I modify this to make it positive? And if not, then perhaps I should say no.
The inner summit.
Yeah, because as you said in the introduction, the goal is I don't want to wake up one day and have regret. And I'm only going to get regret if I'm not fulfilled. And I'm only not going to feel fulfilled if I'm not moving in the direction that I deem as successful. Hence why it's so important for myself and the people I work with to come up with their own definition of success. Because here's the thing, Johnny, if we're all so different, how can our definition of success be so similar? Does it make any sense?
It does. That makes a lot of sense to ask that question. And having seven summits that are relevant to you. I guess what I'm trying to understand with the seven summits is it that like you need to hit all seven, or are you saying the majority of them are being hit and your net impact is positive when you make a decision? Because I like, from my mind, I'd imagine it's quite hard to, when you make a decision, be like, yeah, it hits all sevens, but it's kind of hitting the majority, is it?
Yeah. Again, if one or two take a little bit of a hit, but I get five that go up, and now also let's assume of the five, many of them are my higher priority summits. The net effective is still very positive. And at least I know that I've gone backwards in one or two of them, and I'm okay to make that sacrifice. But if I do with my blinders on, which is what I was doing before, and just focus on, let's be honest, in my case, it was financial gain. I didn't know that when I said yes to money, what were the other things that I said no to? Now, at least I'm aware of what I've said no to, and I'm okay with that moving forward. But just to give you an example, if it was no to, like if health would go down or if relationships would go down, I probably wouldn't do it unless if it was very temporary. But if it meant that personal development had to take a pause for 6 months or 1 year, I'd be okay with that because that's not as high a priority as family and health. So you see, it depends on which summits are being affected as well. It's not just 5 went up and 2 I'm going down. It's which 5 have gone up and which 2 have gone down. And am I okay with that?
So it's like if, for example, you were given an opportunity to learn from like some of the world's best in like a month-long event, and it really would help your personal development, but it meant not seeing or speaking to your family, that would be like probably a negative net effect.
Well, again, if it's a month and I'm learning from the world's best, that might be okay. But if you told me it was a year, it's definitely not okay, at least not for me. Because for me, family is a very high priority. So you have to find out where's that line where it's okay to not okay. Some people may say, I'm happy to do it only for 2 weeks. Some people may say a month. Some people might be okay for a year. But again, it's not my definition. It's your definition, because success is not something that I tell you, hey, Johnny, this is what it should be. It's no, here are some questions that you can ask yourself and a framework that you can follow. Discover it for yourself, because it's yours. It's not what anyone else is telling you. It's your definition. Because when you live by your definition, you're living a life that's more resonant, and hence you will have more fulfillment, which will mean the chances of regret coming along are far, far, far slimmer.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched on the zero regret life, because I know that's something you're encouraging people to live that life, the no regret life. But I also like what you're saying about make it tailored to the person and them defining their 7 summits for their success, because you get so many rules. Like you said, you took on board someone else's definition and then realized what it was for you truly. So this like 7 peaks framework, this is or 7 summits framework, this is something you teach and you have available in your resources.
Yes, when I'm doing my workshops or when I'm coaching these amazing leaders worldwide, this is a framework which I've developed that I share with them to enable them to discover what success truly means for them. And once they've done that, we look at what is the clutter that they're holding on to, knowingly or unknowingly, that's slowing them down. Because once we remove that clutter, then they can start to scale these various mountains a lot faster. And then the third step is really about momentum. When I'm on these mountains, I don't think, especially on summit day, which can sometimes be very grueling, I can't think of the summit because it seems like it's so far away. But what I can focus on is, Sahil, put your right foot in front of your left. That I can manage. I do that, then I'm like, okay, now put your left foot in front of your right. And I just keep repeating that in my head. And slowly but surely, assuming Mother Earth allows me to get there, I reach the summit.
Wow.
So if I just take one step forward towards my summits every single day, I'm living a life that is a lot more resonant with what I define as my definition of success, which again will lead me to more fulfillment and take me further and further away from a life of regret.
I love that. Moving forward, I want to kind of touch on one final thing. Did you learn, like a lot of people, well, I know everyone goes through some like tough times and knockbacks at times, but in terms of from the mountain, what did you learn from the mountain, if anything, about resilience? Because I'd imagine on the mountain there can be quite a few, well, I know there's quite a few challenges from what you're describing.
So there have been 2 moments where I was not able to summit. One, I felt I came along with not enough physical training. It was a combination of that, taking responsibility for things I didn't need to take responsibility for. And I didn't have kind of that higher reason to keep going. Because at some point your body gets tired, but the mind takes over and says, come on, Sahil, you can do it. And at some point the mind gets tired and you need something bigger than yourself to get to the summit. And for some reason, that time I had nothing. So if I combine all those things, I didn't make it to the top. So do you look at it as a failure or do you look at it as a lesson? I looked at it as a lesson. I said, work on your physical strength. Because if you were stronger, you would have definitely been a lot better off. Be clear on the roles and responsibilities of everyone in the group, which I was not. And finally, always have something that's bigger than yourself that you're fighting for. Again, if I had that, the probability of me making it to the top would have been significantly higher. Now, the other mountain, which I couldn't summit, is probably one of the easiest mountains I've ever attempted. I mean, when I say easy, if you told me tomorrow fly there and go climb it, I could do it, even if I didn't train enough. But in that scenario, Mother Earth didn't let us get to the top. We had this black swan weather event, and then it just became unsafe to go to the summit. Physically, mentally, all of that, we could have easily made it. However, it would have been unsafe because we always have this turnaround time. No matter how far you've gone, you have this kind of turnaround time where you have to then turn around and go back because you need to get back to your camp safely, right? Going up is optional, but coming down is mandatory. So I just look at all of these as learning lessons and realizing also that there are a lot of things that are not in control. Because I realized, Johnny, that I used to beat myself up over things that were outside of my control. But like that mountain story I just told you, no matter what I did, I was not going to be able to make it to the top. And there was nothing I could do about it. Because that weather event that suddenly came just did not allow us in the time frame that we had allocated to get to the top.
And powerful way you've taken the lessons and being able to use them to kind of like strengthen yourself. I love that, Saahil. So Saahil, I know you're doing a lot for other people out there. You're obviously coaching a lot of leaders and sharing your work. You got your framework. Where's the best place for the listener to find you if they want to reach out, grab more of your information, learn about your work? And is there a final point that maybe you'd like to leave us with today?
Absolutely. So if anybody wants to know more about me or connect with me, if you go to my website, www.sahilmehta.com, that's SAAHILMEHTA.com. It has all the links to my social media sites as well. So you can connect with me through any of them. And please, if you have a message, I'd be more than happy to receive it and respond back. In terms of two things that I'd leave you with, I'm going to leave you with a little story as well as a gift. So the gift is, if you have a few minutes of your time, go on my website and there's a mental well-being quiz. Just answer a few questions and it'll give you a fairly detailed, substantial report with some ideas that can enable you to raise your mental well-being levels. So if you have the time, please go ahead and do that. That's my little gift to you. It doesn't cost you anything, just a few minutes of your time, and you'll get a lot of valuable information. And the story I'll leave you with is a story about a sailor. Now, this sailor went to the captain of the ship and said, Captain, may I get my pay today? To which the captain responded, come tomorrow. So the sailor goes to bed. He wakes up the next morning all excited, thinking about different ways he's going to spend his money. Goes back to the captain. Captain, can I please get my money? The captain looks at him and goes, hey, didn't I tell you tomorrow? So you see, folks, tomorrow never comes. Whatever it is that you picked up from this episode, please don't try to implement many things at once. Just take one thing, but apply it today. Take that first step today. So that's what I'll leave the audience with.
Great point to sign off with. And yeah, we'll be sure to link the website and all your resources below. And thank you so much for that gift as well. And that quiz, that's a really good insight into ourselves. And yeah, you can grab Saahil's information in the show notes below. So just click there and you can jump onto his website and all the resources. So Saahil, a massive thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for your time.
Awesome. So that concludes today's episode. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.